Welcome, everyone. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the 2019 Sustainability Award webinar being hosted by Global Fund for Children. This webinar is appropriate being held at this time as June 16th is International Day of the African Child. And that's a day set aside to raise awareness on the ongoing need to protect the rights and improve the education of children living across Africa. So it's particularly exciting for us to be doing this at this time, having this conversation. Before we get into the details, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alexander Cherry Martin. I am the Regional Director for Africa at the Global Fund for Children. And today we have two people we'll be having a conversation with. I'll pass it on to them to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the details of the webinar. So Corey and Noella.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Corey Ozer. I'm the Vice President of Programs at the Global Fund for Children.
I am Noella Musuka. I'm the founder of a grassroots organization called Malaika in the Congo. We're developing a village through a school, community center, infrastructures, and agriculture. And we set up the foundation 12 years ago. And it's an honor to be here on the call with all of you.
Thank you, Corey and Noella. So as I mentioned, this is a 2019 Sustainability Award webinar. And the Sustainability Award is essentially an award we offer every year at Global Fund for Children to a few of our highest achieving partners. Since 2005, over 100 community-based organizations from almost 50 countries have received the award and used the funds to support their long-term sustainability. So today we'll be digging a little deeper, having a conversation with one of this year's award winners, Malaika, represented by Noella, and also having a conversation with Corey to understand some of the changes that we made to this year's process. So without further ado, I'm going to start with some questions to Noella. So Noella, what inspired you to found Malaika?
So what inspired me, it's first of all is kind of my story with my mother. My dad died when I was 5 years old. My mother didn't have resources to keep me, so I grew up from families in Europe, and I went to see her back after 13 years. And she was living in very poor conditions, and I saw so many kids not attending school, being abandoned, being orphaned. And for me, it was very important to not only give back to my mother, but to set up one day a grassroots organization that will help and will tackle the problem of education and bring gender equality in education, in health programs, and to really investing in the next leader, but have more female-driven.
Thank you very much. So can you share a particular experience or story from your work with Malaika that has demonstrated why it's so important? It's clear that you're passionate about the work, but can you share something that would give our listeners some insights into the importance of your work?
I think what is amazing is to see the impact that we have in the village from a student, from a mother or a father. You know, the student, they come at 5 years old until 18 years old. They stay with us many years. They have their breakfast, they have the lunch, they have a holistic curriculum, they're learning. But we're teaching the parents too. I see the example of Mother Annie that never knew to know to read and write. She can read, she can write. She learned to do sewing at the center, and she can make bags. She can have an income. When you see a student, Annie or Louise or Lorian or Frida, that when they came to a school, they never use toilets. They never eat with a fork and a knife. When you speak with Louise now, she's one of our best students. She wants to be a scientist. Frida wants to be a journalist. It's just great to see this aspiration they have and the confidence when they're speaking with you and what they want to become. Their school is their refuge. It's not Noella School or Malaika School. It's their moment where they're going, where they have this chance that they will be a leader in their own community, in their own country. And one of our students, actually, Lorian, the way she answers maths, we do a program with a teacher from Harvard and Northeastern University, where he helped us to strengthen the math program at the school. And they want, she's very academic, and the way she answers maths is very specific. And they want to invite her to come to do a summer camp at Harvard next summer. So imagine Lorian sleeping on the floor at her house, coming to the school that she never dreamed, and maybe next year going to Boston for a summer camp. For me, it's really amazing, and for her.
Right. That's a very great story. Thanks for sharing that. It just gives us a glimpse of the importance and the life-changing work that you're doing, and we're all grateful for that. Can you share a bit about the relationship with Global Fund for Children? When it started, how long, and what your experience has been?
Very bad experience, actually. I see the head of the people. No, it's been amazing to work with Global Fund for Children, because we've been partnering since many years. One of their colleagues, Emmanuel, went to the school and to really look at the programs. And we share the same values for what we want for children. And we've been growing together. They believe us since many years. They help us to develop Malaika and really bring Malaika to a certain level. And we're very, very grateful to have their support, but not only of the foundation. I think they have an amazing team where I feel personally related to every single person working at Global Fund for Children, and they have a special relationship with the staff that is on the ground. And for me, it's very important that, yes, I'm the founder, but I want to create this relationship that the staff on the ground are the one making happen every day. Our programs, they have faces, and they know the solutions of their problems. And Global Fund for Children really created an environment where we all feel related.
Thank you. One last question before I move on to Corey. So what would you be able to pinpoint one or two things that particularly have really impacted yourself or Malaika in this period of working in partnership with Global Fund for Children?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, the internet break down a little bit.
Would you be able to pinpoint? Would you be able to pinpoint one or two things that have been very pivotal in your partnership with Global Fund for Children that have supported Malaika?
I think, first of all, the support since many years, but the fact that we won the award the last few weeks was really incredible, because it's going to really help us to bring Malaika to the next levels. It's going to help us to have a consultant helping us to develop the Malaika model that we created in the village that can be duplicated and scalable everywhere, and to emphasize on the leadership training of our team for our free staff, Sarah, Sylvain, and Elvis, and it will be used to have in-house teachers training. The teachers training, like a lot of countries in Africa, and I think all over the world, is very important to emphasize on updating curriculums and teachers training. But when every year at Malaika School, we're opening one classroom. So it's very key that we keep training the new teachers, and we keep keeping this kind of level for all the other teachers. So to have a robust in-house curriculum teachers, it's key. But what we like beyond that, we always invited different schools too. We invite the teachers if they want to be part of that, because it's important that you not only you created that just for Malaika, but you can broaden and collaborate and exchange with different schools.
Thank you for that. So Corey, let me switch gears to you now. Could you give us some insights into what changed with the process this time? This time we did things a little differently. So can you just share how GFC rejuvenated the Maya Ajmera Sustainability Award selection process?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Alex. I think it is important to mention that this award is an important legacy for the Global Fund for Children, and that it was started by GFC's founder, Maya Ajmera. and really started as a way to give some of our partners an extra boost as they thought about their long-term trajectory and plans after the funding from Global Fund for Children would come to an end. So we have also at Global Fund for Children over the last year or so really been thinking more about how we get feedback from our partners and how we ask our partners how we're doing and how we act on some of the things that we learn from partners. So we decided to conduct a survey, and we had a fellow through the Atlas Core program who was working with us for a year, who reached out to all of the more than 100, about 144 organizations that have won the award, and asked what the award has meant to the organizations, what GFC could do better, how we could implement some changes. And we heard some really interesting responses that included things like the suggestion to involve past awardees in the selection process because they had particular insight into how they use the award and thought that they could be a helpful resource to future candidates. Also giving a longer period of time for partners to be able to use the award money, and the suggestion to have our team a little bit more involved in the development of proposals and plans to use the award if that was needed from the partners, more as a consulting resource. So those were some of the things that we put in place. And we decided to, on one hand, to create a little bit of a different selection process. So we invited 3 of our alumni award winners, one from Ethiopia, another from Serbia, and finally from Washington, D.C., to form a selection panel. So together with a member of GFC's fairly recently formed Youth Leadership Council, those were the deciders of this year's Sustainability Award winners. We also brought in one of our long-term individual supporters who was around supporting the organization in different ways for about 15 years as an advisor to the process, so to ask questions of the panelists and to share some of her insight. So it was a really rich discussion and debate, and we felt like we really benefited from the experience and the insight of some of our partners, but also bringing a young person's voice. Our Youth Leadership Council member from the UK and originally from Russia had some really interesting experience and perspective to bring. So we felt really confident that this group made a great decision as they debated and chose the final award winners.
Thank you for that. So still on the award, you broadened the definition of sustainability this year. So can you speak about how you did that and the thinking behind that broadening definition?
Sure, that's a great point, because GFC traditionally focused a lot on financial sustainability and diversity of funding resources. And that's still really important. Certainly any organization needs resources to be able to survive. But in thinking and talking with our partners, we realized that there are so many other dimensions to sustainability. So we talked to partners, we looked at some of the resources and research in the field, and really came up with a broader definition as we consider how organizations have to be flexible to change and adapt in a complex world, in complex situations. So we came up with kind of a few broad categories of sustainability. So I can share a few of those and then what they mean in some more detail. So broadly, we were looking at leadership, at resources, at learning, and at networks. So getting into a bit more detail on some of these areas around leadership. So we felt that an organization, in order to be sustainable over the long term, has to have some kind of vision about where they're going over the next few years, some sort of vision that's shared amongst their team and that's relatively clear, even though it will adapt and change over time. And then the idea of leadership, because many of the organizations are founded by very visionary leaders. It's important as time goes on and organizations think about their long-term future, how that leadership is distributed among others in the organization. So what is that plan to create new leaders in the organization? Looking at resources, it's really the diversity of funding resources. So how is an organization tapping into resources available locally, regionally, as well as internationally? What are their different fundraising streams and their plans for how to expand and diversify their funding? And then in terms of learning, are they interested? Does an organization express interest in understanding the outcomes or the impact of their work, and what are their plans for doing that? And then is an organization really getting feedback from the people that they're serving? In the same way I mentioned that it's important for GFC to get feedback from our partners, similarly, our organizations talking to children and youth and parents and communities and understanding their perspectives and their experience and incorporating that into their planning and their decision making. And then what do an organization's networks look like? Are they partnering with other organizations, thinking about change beyond their individual organization? Are they involved in networks and coalitions within their own country, but even sometimes regionally and nationally? And what is their vision for bigger picture change? And then what kind of community engagement? So I think sustainability is important when you think of an organization embedded in their community. How are community members participating? Are they volunteering? Are some community members eventually becoming part of the staff? Is there a mechanism to provide feedback to organizations from communities? So those are a few dimensions that broaden sustainability from the financial aspects that we took into account as we asked organizations to share their visions and share their plans, and then as we were assessing applications with our group.
Thank you very much. That seems like a lot of thoughts went into that, and I'm sure you're proud about how it turned out because it looks like it did really turn out great. So final question for you, Corey. Obviously, Malaika was an award winner. And so can you share a bit about what you found most compelling about the application that warranted them being an award winner?
Absolutely. So I will say that the GFC staff, while we listened to the deliberations of the committee, we did not actually make the decision. So we were glad that the decisions were made by the selection committee, but I will share some of the points that were mentioned in the discussions that really stood out from the application. And again, these were organizations that didn't know Malaika directly, so they were really going on the information that was shared in the application. So they found, I think, a very clear and compelling application and a clear vision for how the award would be used, some of the things that Noella shared at the beginning of the call. I think looking at some of the selection criteria that I mentioned, they really appreciated what seemed to be an effort to cultivate the next generation of leadership. So that real commitment to building leadership capacity across the organization. And that was also reflected in one of the plans for how the award is meant to be used. Also a real effort to diversify funding sources, including trying to influence funders to make a long-term investment in Malaika. So really explaining to funders why it's important to not only fund projects for 1 year and what that kind of long-term investment means to an organization. So really doing donor education as well as trying to explore new sources of funding, and also looking at some potential income generation opportunities for Malaika. So not only relying on grants, looking at Africa-based funding opportunities. So we saw that was, or the committee saw that as a really interesting dimension of sustainability, not only looking at international sources, but really tapping into the potential in the continent. They also saw a really strong emphasis on learning. So everything from the development of a theory of change to the intention and habit of using data for decision making, and also a strong commitment to getting feedback from the people served, including involvement from the community. So there was one really interesting thing that stood out to some of the committee members was what Malaika was calling a community member committee that actually seems to participate in decision making of the organization. So giving direct feedback on their views and thoughts about Malaika's services. They also pointed to strong both local, regional, and international networks, and saw that Malaika has really taken advantage of opportunities to build visibility, to build networks, and not to go at it alone, but to really build those strong relationships And finally, as I mentioned, a really clear plan for using the award that involved really strengthening their model and seeing how it can be applied in other contexts, and then investing in leadership development. So really investing in that next generation of leaders. So those were a few things that the committee highlighted as being really compelling and standing out when they evaluated the applications.
It's great to hear that, and I will play part. I will put in a big screen in the Congo where all the staff and the community can hear that.
Oh.
Thank you, Corey. So Noella, back to you. I have a few final questions before we open it up to the audience. So what does sustainability look like for you? You did hear Corey's thoughts on the Global Fund for Children's definition of sustainability, but how do you see that fitting in Malaika right now? What does that mean to you?
I think sustainability is the environment, is the economical and the social that's going around, but I think sustainability means operating in self-sufficient manner as possible. It means continually working with local Congolese individuals and organizations. All our staff is Congolese. We put a lot of emphasis on their training, as growing at steady but consistently rates that allow us to make more and bring more and more girls and serving more the community. It also means maintaining close ties and connection with our students later on life, because in 3 years they'll be leaving our school because they're arriving at 5 until 18. The story I was telling you of Gloria, and she's been like 8 years at her school, and we really want to have the data that we can follow them up later on in their life, that these women can share their stories, they can inspire the next wave of women leaders, and ultimately will create a circular and self-fulfilling dynamic.
Thank you. Thank you. It's amazing that you are trying to track the beneficiaries you support even beyond the program. I can imagine that's not an easy thing, and kudos to you for even looking to do that.
And Congo is a very challenging country.
Yes,
and even more when we work in a village. The village that we're developing all the programs is a village where there is no water, no electricity, and after 12 years we've been really lobbying to the government that they have to make the roads. So after nearly 12 years, they started nearly 60% of the roads. So it's a big change for the village and the community.
Yeah, yeah, cool. All right, so how do you plan to use the award?
So the award is like I said before, we could bring on an expert that will help us to really create and write all the challenges and the success over the 12 years. To really, because we have a lot of people and a lot of foundation contacting us. We want to create a model of Malaika in Liberia or in Togo or in Senegal. So for us, I don't take any salary of Malaika, but what I really would like to do is that the local staff and myself, we can really advise foundation or individual that want to create this model and ask them to donate to Malaika. So the Global Fund for Children Award will really help us to bring an expert to create this model in written, like a manual, and then where we can share is really to emphasize to the leadership of our staff. It's very important. They are amazing, but it's always to bring to the next level. And I learn every day with them too. And really to emphasize on the in-house teachers training and really work with teachers. We have like 2 experts coming this summer to teach our team. But what is key is that we keeping all these teacher manuals and teachers training where we can really expand, and it's becoming our in-house teachers manual.
Thank you. When you say looking to expand, have you identified some organizations already within a DRC that are looking to expand, take on your model, or are you looking outside? Have you started these conversations, or are you now just anticipating these partnerships to start?
For Malaika, we will be only one model, but we're very happy to share our experience and sharing experiences there's a lot of challenges around the way, and it's first of all because it's important to really know the community that we're serving, and is to have them involved. A community in the Congo is not the same community that you will have in Nigeria or in Liberia. There's culture, there is, you know, before we go to Kalibuka, where the program is, it never existed a school for girls in all the entire areas, and even not a lot in the country. So it was something new to implement a school for girls. So it's really to have the model of Malaika that can be duplicated, but only one Malaika, if I make myself understand it. And yes, we have some people contacting us that they would love to come to learn on the ground and to see how they can duplicate it in their own country or in their own village. I think it's very, you know, in Congo you have to pass the national test. So the 6th primary in Congo, all in the country have to pass the national test, and as students for 3 years in a row pass the national test, 100% results successful. So the Minister of Education came to see why Malaika was successful, and Malaika is successful because first of all we have a big nutrition program where we're offering breakfast and lunch to the students, where the school is free, but it's the holistic program that we're offering, from music, from art, from sport, from boxing, from coding. We just started the coding a few months ago, and it's all this program that we're bringing. And if we can share this inside curriculum we have with different schools and different organizations that want to recreate this model, it will be amazing. I don't think so we can only keep for ourselves, and after 12 years, I think it's important to share.
Right. And I commend you for the willingness to share, because if we can all continue to implement the successful models across these communities, I think we move forward and get a better chance of reducing the levels of poverty and inequality around the world. So thanks for that. One final question before we...
It's important to talk about the challenges, because, you know, beyond, we don't raise money or we don't bring awareness through sad pictures or through the problems that Congo went through. There's a lot of challenges behind the doors, and it's important to explain that. For me, I don't want to think it's amazing. It's difficult to fundraise. It's difficult to in a country where it was been politically instability for many, many years. And there's a lot of story even from a student that very touching and grabbing. One of a student last week, a mother gave birth and she died, but the boy is alive. And you know, it's something that Malaika will take care of this little boy and want to help. But there's a lot of tragedy around the way.
Thanks for sharing that. So a final question before we open it to the audience for questions is, what's one thing that you'd like to share with everyone about supporting local leaders who are promoting change for children? You are one such leader, and what you started to touch on the challenges, but is there anything else that you would like to share about what supporting local leaders who are promoting for children?
Definitely, lasting change comes from the ground up. Definitely, it's all about the local model that through Malaika, I observe firsthand how the entire village can be transformed through the education of girls and women. How you started small. For instance, Malaika, we start only with 3 classes with 104 students, and every year we were opening 1 classroom. It's very important to invest in the community. It's very important to choose your champion that will really believe and have a vision and really make an impact for their community, for their country. And this ripple effect is really powerful. Once we have the local community-led model that works effective, it can be scaled up and achieve change on the greater scale. You can teach them, but it has to come from the inside, and you cannot buy passion. I think Malaika has been successful because of the staff that we have. They are amazing. They are believers. They see the impact of education and partners can have. We learn through Global Fund for Children and partners that we have, and it's important to have the involvement of of the entire community and individuality. I think we have a few amazing leaders in the foundation on the ground, like for instance Sarah, Sylvain, Elvis, Donald. They all bring their strong skills. And when you know how to shape each person, each staff, and they can work together, it's really amazing, because they can bring the program to the next level. Without the correct team and the correct leaders on the ground that will manage it on the everyday, and that will know how to take every day as it comes, but with the right decision and the right feeling, it can be possible.
Great.
The grassroots farming, definitely in Congo, for instance, we have all the biggest organization on the ground. Grassroots is something very, very special. I believe it's for Africa.
Yeah, we believe in that too. So that's great to hear you share that conviction. Thanks for sharing. Before we move to questions, I just want to recognize that we have another award winner as part of the audience. Cressida Evans from Viva Vida is with us. So could you just unmute Cressida and just say hi to everyone?
Oh, right. Hi. Am I unmuted now? I couldn't do it originally.
Yes.
Hi, guys. I'm talking to you from rainy Salvador in Northeast Brazil. I'm the general coordinator of Viva Vida, Associação Viva Vida, which means Long Live Life, which was set up in 2003 to deal with issues related to drugs and young people. And we have a lot of difficulties. I absolutely hear you from Congo about fundraising, donors. The general climate here is not very favorable, unfortunately, to small organizations. So our idea was using the award was to try and think about how we can be sustainable without necessarily demanding future funds or relying on future funding. So we divided it into we had two kind of ideas. One was how to help the young people in Viva Vida who have taken on our cause to get their messages out into the community. So we're going to use the award for 18 months, building on a project we already had, which trains young people in human rights, combating violence, drug prevention, and adding on modules, which we've already done before, which has worked very well, about youth leadership and arts education. In this case, because the kids, it's what they've chosen, we're going to focus on graffiti and poetry. So graffiti means we have a chance to literally get messages out into the community in terms of painting anti-racist, anti-violent, drug prevention messages. I don't know how much you guys know about Brazil, but we suffer from, in the community I work in, we work in 1 in 100 young people will be shot dead before they reach their 19th birthday as a result of the sort of ongoing drugs war, and now the government relaxing laws on guns as well, on arms. So that obviously makes things more complicated. So we have a lot of messages about peace, about overcoming violence, about not getting involved in the kind of drug spiral, which is not just about using, but also about dealing. So we're going to focus on one side of it is going to be getting the message out into the community, helping the young people absorb these messages, understand them better, and then work as youth leaders in the community. And the other side is something more strategic, which is something we've wanted to do for a long time, which is building a youth management committee. So as part of our very small trustee board, which is totally made up of people from the community, we're going to have at least 3 young people trained to participate in the board and to work as a channel of communication between the young people and the sort of strategic level of the organization. So helping us when we define targets, when we do our planning, what kind of activities we should be planning, reflecting on whether or not they've worked, feeding into the board. So there are 2 strands. non-financial sustainability, if you like, which are messages out into the community and building young people who can work within organizations. Even if Viva Vida doesn't survive, over the next 5 years, they are equipped to take that kind of work out into the community to replicate it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And congratulations again on the award.
So pleased.
And come to Congo, come to Brazil.
I'd love to come to Congo. I can't tell you how much I'd love it. And the kids are so excited. So the small group of artists just started last week. They've painted a big sign we were a bit hidden in the community, and they've painted our name up, and they've started some of their learning processes, and it's given us a whole new energy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Corey, I think this might be something to think about as future modifications, incorporating an exchange visit as part of the Sustainability Award.
I'd love it.
Great idea.
Imagine taking these youngsters from here, from Brazil, to meet your community in Congo. They'd go crazy. They'd love it.
We can start a Skype session, maybe.
Definitely.
Okay, great. So at this point, I'd like to open it up for questions, and I believe there are a few questions from the colleagues at Global Fund for Children. So Nina, if you could moderate the flow of questions now, I'll hand it over to you.
So I think we don't have any questions from the online audience yet. If you have any, please feel free to submit them through the chat, and we can ask them directly to the speakers. And if anyone from GFC here has a question, feel free to ask now.
I'm sorry, I have only 3% on my laptop, and I have no charger, so I think I will be with you only 1-2 more minutes. I don't see where I can plug my laptop.
One or two quick questions.
I have a question. Yeah, I know. I was just quickly wondering if how the role of your programming organization in the DRC.
It's difficult to hear you.
Yes, can you repeat the question? We cannot hear you properly.
Can you just maybe send the question over and I can ask that?
Yeah.
We didn't hear.
Okay, I just sent the question by chat.
Okay, so Noella, the question is, how has the recent Ebola crisis impacted your work in the DRC?
Yes, for sure. The last few years, it was supposed to be elections, so it was a lot of troubles. And now we have a new president, so we want to be positive. And I do believe that the First Lady, she's an amazing woman that's very involved in order to listen to the population and the needs of the communities. So we hope the next few years will be good, and we see what the president will do. But the tension the last few months when the election was coming up was very, very, very tough. But where we are is very safe in Kalebuka, so that was really good. But you know, to fundraise with local donors was
Oh, we lost that.
I think we lost that. Oh, shame.
That's too bad. I think we'll see if Noelle is able to reconnect, but if not, maybe if there are any final questions for Alex or Corey, and if not, we could finalize the webinar here.
I have a question for Corey. So looking forward, these changes seem to have really worked out well. It just shows the constant evolution and our learning spirit at Global Fund for Children. Do you anticipate any changes for next year? It might be too early to tell, but have you, based on feedback, thought about any changes that you might be looking to try to make in the selection process or the application process?
Sure. I think that we will stay with a very participatory process. I think that's something that we want to be able to explore more and embed within our grant making to the extent possible. So I think we will have an open call to alumni award winners to participate. So we would be looking for a new group of partners to participate in that process, and would also love to be able to tap into our Youth Leadership Council again to get engaged. And I think that in terms of the criteria, we may make just a couple of small tweaks to the application, but in general, I think that the applications worked well and gave us some rich information, so I don't see any significant changes for next year.
Cool. Thank you very much. Any final questions for Corey?
No question. Does Malaika, the organization, have a 501c3 status?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Answer it. Joe answered it.
Okay. Okay. Well, seems like that's it. No further questions. Thank you very much, Corey, for taking the time to talk to us. Fortunately, we lost Malaika due to connectivity issues, but it's been great having both of you today. And it's very exciting to hear how the award has evolved and how it's now so much of a participatory approach, and we're incorporating elements like interacting with the Youth Council and our alumni partners or former awardees, and that's great to hear. Looking forward to the next group of, Malaika is back. Noella, hi.
I went to find somewhere to charge.
Okay, great. I'll have you answer the last question before we sign off. So the question was about Ebola and how Ebola has affected the work of Malaika.
No, because Congo is like the quarter size of America, so we are completely in the south and east of the Congo, so we're not affected by Ebola. We are very, very far away. But we do a lot of awareness at the community center about health and hygiene, and talking about the Ebola, about the malaria, the HIV, family planning. So it's something that we really deeply sharing what is happening in the country.
Thank you. Any other questions for Noella?
It looks like we have one online question from David Akpan. The question is, did you have the sustainability planned during the implementation of the GFC grant, or was it instituted as part of the organizational structure?
I think the communication is not so.
Let me
your question. So definitely there's a plan.
Yeah, let me ask that again. So did you have the sustainability plan during the implementation of the GFC grant, or was it instituted as part of your organizational structure?
No, we're going to work closely with the Global Fund for Children for the implementation of the award, and it's over 2 years. So we're going to make a plan for the 3 points that we will elaborate. And all this summer I'm in the Congo, and our program manager in New York is working closely with all the local staff to really implement it, but in order with the priorities of each the 3 main points: leadership, the teachers training house, and duplicate the Malaika models. So we're gonna work in synergies with the 3 programs, but we really want to do step by step. So we have a time over 2 years, and we hope that another member of Global Fund for Children will come to visit us on the ground and working with the local team.
Yeah, so the question also is a bit that I didn't quite get across properly. So let me rephrase it. So you had thought of your sustainability earlier on before the application process. And this process to think through what sustainability will look like for Malaika, was that done outside of the GFC grant, or was it the GFC grant that supported you to go through that process of thinking and reflection to really articulate what sustainability will look like for Malaika?
No, it was always something that we, over the years, you know, we didn't grow over 12 years in once. We grew very steadily every year. So that's something we really wanted to develop bit by bit, and Global Fund for Children will help us to make it happen and to make stable all the programs that we have and to really share on the bigger platform. But it's always something that we wanted, and it's really great to find a Global Fund for Children that can help us to implement that and believe in our vision. It's a vision that we always wanted, and what's very special, it's come from the staff on the ground that see the impact and really want to go to the next level with Malaika, and we are there to support them.
Okay, and another question I think is asking for you to articulate what the model looked like. So I know you explained what sustainability looks like to you, but I think this question is trying to dig a little deeper to understand at what level you're looking to sort of be sustainable. Are you looking to just your locality, or are you looking at expanding nationally? Can you speak a little bit about what the model and vision looks like?
You know, for us, we just wanted to build first the school. But before to build the school, you needed to have water to make the brick for the school. So we decided to build a well. But when we built the well, we have hundreds of people who were coming to get water from our wells. So it's the reason we decided to invest in water program. And we built over the years 17 wells that impact more than 30,000 people. So you cannot only build a school, you have to build the well, then the school. Then you see that if you don't teach the parents and the youth, it will be a big gap between the students you're having. So you have the school, then you have the community center where you have the parents, where you have the youth coming there to come to learn and to come to learn a small job. And then because the food program is very big at the school, because we're feeding 314 students, but 40 staff on the top. So it's nearly 360 people a day for breakfast and lunch. It was very important to grow our own food that we can feed the kids and the staff. So you have the school, the community center, the wells, the agriculture, and in the future we will love someone to come to do a health clinic in the village. But we're seeing that this model can be duplicated not only in different parts of the Congo, but it can be duplicated in Africa, and in Brazil, in Colombia, because the key of the program is the community. It's community involvement and community and training the team. But the team, they don't need us. They know the problems of the country and the community. They know their solutions. We are there to support them. So yes, I would like to see Malaika globally.
Well, with your vision to share the model, I'm sure in a few years we might be seeing different types of organizations adopting different elements of your model, and that could easily, I could see that happening. Any other questions for either Noella or Corey? Okay, seems like no questions. So Noella, I want to give you the final word. Any other thing you want to share before we close out on this webinar?
I'm looking forward to implement this award for the next 2 years with the amazing team that we have in the Congo, and with your support. And Global Fund for Children is very one of our favorite partners, and very happy that it's not, you've been supporting us since many, many years. So you see us growing, and you see the impact that we have in the life of the children, in the life of the staff, in the life of the community. And it's special. And I'm looking forward. I think, Moody, you say you're coming in October. You want to stay at my mother's house, she will cook for you. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going there for 6 weeks. So if you have any questions, you can call me there. We do Skype with the team, and you can talk to the students, you can ask them questions, or to the staff.
Yeah. That's great.
John, you look very serious.
Sorry?
John looked very serious. He has no question.
John, you just been called out.
I know.
Anyway, thank you very much. And Noella, on behalf of everyone at GFC, thank you for your work and the work you've been doing for the community, especially the young girls. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you for your time. And again, congratulations on the award. We're really excited to follow up and see the use of the funds as you've described it. And we have no doubt that this will be able to continue to amplify the work that you're doing to affect and impact many more lives moving forward. If there are no final questions, then I'd like to thank all of you who have tuned in to listen. I believe the recording will be made available to all those who registered. So apologies for the hiccups in technology throughout different moments throughout the webinar, but you get a chance to view the sections that you missed. Again, thank you for the time, and let's all send tweets and send pictures marking June 16th, which is International Day of the African Child, and take that day to reflect on how we can be part of the process to protect the lives of children and to continue to improve their education across the continent. Thank you again, and goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.